Hello and welcome to Europhoria, the podcast all about the great glam and garish from Eurovision past. My name is Roland Bodenham, and like Dracula awakening from a century of slumber, I'm joined by a woman who looks like a fallen angel, parties like El Diablo. She's often found in the wrong place down the old discotheque wearing Technicolor clothes, surrounded by Russian women, blood pumping with adrenalina, waking up in the morning with amnesia saying growing up is getting old. Voila, it's Isobel Chioma.
That's your strongest intro yet. Incredible. I thought you were going to pass out halfway through.
Well, it's been long enough, so I thought I'd just pack them all into one.
Great work.
I have just realised that I've used them all up on this first episode of this too, so I'm going to have to make something up for the next one. We'll see how good that one is.
Yeah.
Hi, Isabel, and hi, everyone. How are you doing, Isabel?
I'm very well. Thank you very much, Roland.
Yeah?
I was thinking, just before we started, that because it's been so long since we've spoken to these lovely, lovely listeners, probably it's too much to kind of cram in the past 12 months. So I thought we could just say something that's happened in the past, 6 hours. That's big in your life. Or maybe 24 hours.
Jesus Christ.
What's happened in the past 24 hours? I have got really into kimchi.
In the last 24 hours?
Yeah. Yeah, obsessed with the stuff.
Interesting.
Obsessed with the stuff. And I got an Apple Watch. That's fancy, isn't it?
Oh, that is fancy. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's not bad. I had a pretty good chicken panini yesterday, so that was good.
Sick, amazing, yeah.
And I've worn shorts for the first time in a long time, both yesterday and today. It's like 28 degrees, and it's lovely. Sorry to rub that in.
Brilliant.
Because I know it's
brilliant. I know it's been absolutely pissing it down all day. I went into the park this morning to do some exercise.
Ooh.
And went to my usual spot. And there is, as is classic in Crystal Palace Park, which is right where I live. There's always things being filmed there. TV shows, movies, in and around the sports centre, there's always stuff being filmed.
Fancy.
And as I was there, a group from whatever was being filmed today came up and were taking photos of where I was exercising.
Huh.
And I overheard them, because they weren't speaking very quietly, one of them say to the other, "Yeah, this is the perfect spot really, because look how grim it is." Look how grim it is. He said it more than once. In fact, said it so many times that one of the other people had to go, "You have to stop saying the word grim. There is a woman right there."
I hope it wasn't you contributing to that. No, that
well,
wouldn't have been the
me
case.
too. I think it was the rain. The weather was very awful. There was a bit of graffiti.
I thought you were about to say you were getting talent spotted.
I wish.
Yeah, isn't that the dream?
You want to be in a movie like me?
I'm gonna make you a star.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's very nice. That's good. That's a good 24 hours to do. Most of my last 24 hours has been spent writing stuff for this episode, if I'm honest. So it's not that exciting, but it will hopefully make it, worth listening to.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope so. So, yeah, we should probably also say, everyone's guessed by now, but we've scaled back a bit this year. Mainly because, we've loved doing the stories, but after 60 odd episodes, I think we can genuinely say that we've done them all.
Yeah.
We've done all the stories. There's the big acts and stuff, but we do like digging out the slightly less well-known stuff, and definitely the last couple of years it's been getting harder and harder to find a story worth telling. So our love for Eurovision will never die, and I think we'll always have time in our lives for this special judgy wudgy session. And if anything else comes up, if we have any ideas of how we can talk about Eurovision in any other way, we absolutely will.
And also we have to keep doing this just purely so that I can remain BBC Three County Radio's go-to Eurovision expert. Because if we stop doing the podcast entirely, they'll stop asking me to go on their radio shows, and I love it. So at least once a year, we'll do this.
I reckon that they don't update that list of contacts for at least like every decade or so. So I think if we stop, you'd still have a good 10 years before they
the most recent time the producer said when she first called me, "Are you still doing the podcast?" And I had to go, yeah, we're just on a bit of a hiatus. We are doing an episode soon though.
Oh, okay, yeah. We'll keep doing it just for your BBC Three Counties connections. I do love that when they randomly just email us. Like, they'll obviously email us like around this time of year, but occasionally, just like randomly in November, they'll be like, "Do you want to come on and do a bit about Eurovision?"
Yeah, just in the middle of the summer. It's genuinely. In the past 12 months, I think I've been on BBC Three Counties 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, they'll have to start putting you on payroll.
Well, that'd be nice.
Maybe. So for those of you who haven't listened to our Semi-Phoria episodes before, welcome. I don't know how many of you there are, but we are going to be going through all of Semi-Final 1 in this episode, and then all of Semi-Final 2 in the next episode, plus we'll split the Big Five and the Netherlands between this and the next episode as well. We're going to hear some of the songs, either because they're great or they're very much not
great.
And by the end of these 2 episodes, we will decide, maybe unanimously this year, maybe not, who we think will win Eurovision 2021. Is there anything else we need to do before we get started?
Just that I love you, Roland. It's nice to see you. It's nice to be back.
Love you. I love you too. It's really nice to be back as well. I did just remember something before we get started. I don't know if you're doing it because you're all healthy now, but I was going to open a bottle of wine.
All healthy now. I have had a health kick. Got an Apple Watch. I exercise regularly. Wow, that's a shock to the system over the last couple of months. And I've stopped smoking. I haven't had a cigarette in almost a month.
I feel like my intro is a little bit false representation of you then in that case. But, who knows, once lockdown goes off.
Well, it's only recent. I'm still getting used to this little vape thing. What? No, I have booze. I have booze. I haven't. I can't open it on microphone because it was an already opened bottle of rosé. I do have to work tomorrow. So I have my favourite rosé, which is from a shop in Penge, which is a French rosé, and it is so good that last summer when I moved down here, me and my friend Ellen basically cleared the place out of that wine over the course of about 3 weeks.
Oh, that is going to be this summer. Yeah, I can feel the need for rosé coming on soon. The sun's out over here. It's getting warm. Rosé needs to happen. I've got a bottle of Malbec, and it's not European, and it is from Argentina, but it's wine, and it's going to make. I haven't opened it yet.
It's wine.
It's going to make a noise on camera. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pop it for old time's sake. You ready? Hold on. Oh, it's an awkward angle. Oh my god.
Oh no, have you spilled?
I've spilled on my shorts.
Oh no, not your shorts. For the first time in a year you're putting them on.
I know, it's a sure sign of summer if I've got a bit of red wine on my shorts. Here we go, let's have a listen. Hold on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's like the good old days.
Except neither of us can drink as much as we did 6 years ago.
Terrible. Things have changed, eh? All right, cheers, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, Roland.
Ooh, that was a nice ding. Okay, so as I said, this episode we're going to do all of Semi-Final 1 plus Germany, the Netherlands and Italy, because they're allowed to vote in Semi-Final 1. And then the next episode will be coming out on Wednesday, just in time for Semi-Final 2. But let's get underway, and we're going to do it in the order that they're performing in, which could be, it could be important to know. So let's begin with Lithuania and the Roop with the song Discotheque. Now, this group of people are one of the returning acts from last year, and a very popular one as well. They did actually have to compete to win their national final this year as well, and I feel like it's more than justified. So they're a trio made up of Vaidotas, Robertas and Mantas. And when they were asked by the Eurovision website what came first, the chicken or the egg, they simply answered amoeba. Their song Discotheque is pretty simple. It's about dancing on your own in your own home, and it's probably the first of a lot of songs influenced by the course of the last year. Should we start with a bang and have a little listen?
Let's have a little listen.
Breaking heart is breaking, have to let it go. I need to get up and put my hands up. There's no one here and I don't care. I feel it's safe to dance alone. Let's disco and right at my home. It is okay to dance alone. Dance alone, dance alone, dance alone, dance alone. I got the moves, it's gonna blow.
All right, there we go. That was The Roop with the song Discotheque. Isobel, what do you think of The Roop and Discotheque?
So I'm into this. It's fully my vibe. Very much liked them last year as well. I think I actually preferred last year's entry to this. There's a real it's been interesting listening to the returning artists from 2020 who have come back for this year. Some of them have vastly different songs, for good or for better. And some of them have remained reasonably the same. Some of them almost identically the same. We will get to those acts later. And The Roop is, I think this is The Roop. This is their vibe. This is what they're like. It is quite similar to last year's song. It's very quirky and odd and fun. I don't think the audience is going to be on board, though. Whenever there's a quirky, fun entry like this that we love and that I think a lot of the Eurovision fandom adore because of its quirkiness, the wider Eurovision watching audience are not so on board.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the song is. It's not a novelty song. It's a proper song.
No.
And they are fun, and like you say, they are a little quirky. It's a little kind of hot chippy, electro poppy kind of vibes. I actually prefer this song. I think it's got more oomph to it. And I've been looking at the rehearsal footage from on the Eurovision YouTube channel. They're giving out like 30-second clips, and the second rehearsals they're giving you the actual camera angles, and their staging looks pretty good. Their dancing's pretty on point. There's a couple of acts making use of like a kind of super wide aspect ratio and lots of kind of flat on front shots that I guess was kind of made famous by Benjamin Ingrosso's Dance You Off. Not that. Yeah. I mean, and it looks good. I think these are one of the better ones using that technique this year. I think it'll qualify. I'd be surprised.
Okay, I would very much like it to qualify.
Ooh.
I very much want it to qualify for the finals. I just don't think that it will.
Wow. Oh, wow. I've said this is... Look at us on the first one.
If you put this in the top 5 or something.
I've said it'll finish just outside of the top 5.
Wow. If it does, I think if it makes it to the finals, it'll perform well. If I'm wrong about the wider watching audience, then it will do well. But I don't think I am wrong.
I think you're right. I think for some reason this is the sort of one that if it makes it to the final, it'll do well. But it's a risk at the semi.
Real risky.
Yeah. Okay. We better move on, otherwise we'll be here forever. So let's go to song number 2, Slovenia with Ana Soklic and the song Amen. It's the first of 2 songs with the same title and a number of songs with the kind of gospel, heaven, helly kind of vibes. She was meant to perform in Eurovision 2020 as well. There's a lot of these ones that were returning. She was automatically selected to perform again this year. She's actually been at this for a while. She tried to get into Eurovision back in 2004.
Oh, wow.
According to the Eurovision website, she loves smoking cigars and has 2 cats named Eliska and Ruby.
I can't tell if that's cool or not.
That she likes smoking cigars or that she has 2 cats?
It's definitely cool that she's got 2 cats. But as a cat-owning sexy woman, is it cool? I saw someone smoking a cigarillo yesterday and it rattled me. I didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy it.
So yeah, this is her song Amen. It's very gospelly, and I think it's worth pointing out at this point that this showcases quite a big rule change this year. This year, the acts are allowed for the first time to have pre-recorded backing vocals, which means that a lot of acts have taken advantage of this and have kind of thrown in full gospel choirs, which I think kind of has lent to this kind of theological themed focus for a lot of the act, and it lends itself to that. What do you think of this one, Isabel?
This is the first of not vastly different from last year's entry, is it? I think this is better than Anna's 2020 entry, and I think the gospel elements will nudge it through the semis because it actually gets vaguely interesting at that point. But don't rate it, I'm afraid.
It's a non-qualifier for me. It's a hard non-qualifier.
I would much prefer for this to drop out in the semis and for Lithuania to go through. Yeah. We shall see. I would, not surprised if this does not go through, but also would go, it's nudged its way through because of that gospel bit.
It's one of those songs, there's always a market for it, isn't there? All right, let's move on to song number 3, and it is Russia with Manisha and the song Russian Woman. So this selection was actually a little bit strange. As we know, last year, Little Big were set to represent Russia, and they were very popular. This year, however, Russia was extremely quiet about their act, even as lots of the other performers had been revealed. And Little Big even posted a few cryptic things on their social media, and it was sort of assumed that their announcement, was imminent. However, with just a few days before the deadline was due, Russia announced that there was to be a national final, and within a couple of days of that, the final took place. It was a bit of a technical disaster with it overran. It got cut off halfway through for the news, and Manisha's last note got cut off at the end by the end credit animation.
Oh.
However, she did come through all of that to make it to Eurovision, and she's quite interesting herself. She's Tajikistan born. She's an advocate for LGBTQ plus rights, which in Russia's something to be said.
Have they? But how much do we trust? Yeah. How much do we trust of the Russian media? She's legit. She's legit. She, in interviews and stuff, she's legit. She's a UN Goodwill Ambassador for refugees, which is something she's familiar with because her family fled to Russia to avoid the civil war in Tajikistan. Okay.
And also on the website, it says her biggest fashion disaster she had was when she wore a fake butt on a date and her dress ripped apart. So
why? I'm gonna go back to questioning her.
Hey, women can wear fake butts if they want.
Why would you wear a fake butt?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
So her song about Russian women, it's kind of a empowering half folk rap kind of thing. What do you think of it, Isabel?
I put quite fun. But, obviously putting Little Big's morals and standards and terrible elements of their band members to one side and viewing it just on the song, it's no Uno. They went from having one of the most watched Eurovision videos ever from last year's entry to this, which is quite fun. I don't think it's going to do particularly well though, and that's from Russia, who normally, regardless of everyone's ill will towards the nation, do quite well, and they do put forward really interesting and good songs most of the time.
Yep.
And this is, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I quite like it myself, but I can see how it might be. It might not find an audience.
Yes, that's good wording.
Yeah, if you listen to the studio version of this, it feels really hollow and not that interesting. I think her performance and this kind of live sound of it makes a big difference. I think it will qualify.
I think it will qualify. I just don't think it will do very well. I don't think this is going to get on the left-hand side of the board.
Interesting. I think it will be around 15th, which I can never remember where the left and the right change over. But
there's 26 finalists.
Yeah. So that's on the right hand side of the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on, and we move on to Eurovision stalwarts, Sweden, with Tussi and the song Voices. Another very interesting performer. He's got a pretty amazing story, actually.
Yeah.
He came to Sweden as a refugee, fleeing the Democratic Republic of Congo and leaving his family behind in order to escape war. He arrived in Sweden in 2015 at just 13 years old, and has remained in contact with his biological family, and his dad supported him during Melodifestivalen. Another very interesting performer, Isobel. What about the performance, though? Is that a different matter?
I think... So it's a very Eurovision song. You know what I mean by that. It's a very Eurovision song.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going much outside of the Eurovision box too far. And if it was being sang by any other performer, I don't think I would be so interested in it. But because it's being sung by him, and because of his story, and because of his outfits when he's performing it, he's really making a statement with this song in terms of the story that you've just told, in terms of his moving from as a Congolese asylum seeker in Sweden, and the fact that he is representing Sweden as a young black man who, I was looking earlier, there is no mention of his sexuality on anything that I have read.
I have a quote on that, actually, that I didn't mention, but he basically... He steers away from labeling himself anything. He's an advocate for LGBTQ+. He's got lots of gay and queer friends, but he actually says, I've always seen personality before gender. Personally, I'm a little wary of putting labels on others, and also I'm not fond of putting labels on myself.
Great, but that also means he's not labeling himself as straight either. And I think he is such an interesting performer that he makes this song interesting. Without him, I wouldn't be so fussed by it.
No. The issue is that people watching on the night aren't going to know.
They're not going to know
the
whole story, obviously.
No.
But they are going to see a young black man in killer heels
representing Sweden,
which is enough of a statement and enough of a story in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a qualifier. I think it's going to be one of Sweden's lower entries of recent years.
Yeah.
I've put it just outside top 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it any higher than that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think good for Sweden for introducing an act that's a little bit different. But sad that the Mamas aren't doing it. But there you go. They couldn't have not done Melodifestivalen, could they?
No, that's like cancelling Corrie.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, let's move on. And next up, we have Australia with the performer Montaigne and the song Technicolor. Now, this is a sure sign that we're not quite out of the woods yet with all things COVID, because unfortunately, due to the travel restrictions, Montaigne is unable to travel to the Netherlands this year. There were, of course, backup plans put in place where the artists unable to attend, or if someone contracts coronavirus before the show, they all have a live recorded studio performance which will be shown, and Montaigne is currently the only artist having to do that. It's a real shame for her, but I think the fact that there's only one artist out of all of them right now is pretty remarkable. So Montaigne is a Sydney-based artist. She's an activist, an entertainer, a musician, and much more. But is the song good enough, Isobel, all things considered?
No. I hate to say this because Montaigne seems like is a really interesting performer, but just not my vibe. I wasn't really a fan of last year's entry from Montaigne, and this is fun, but I don't think it's going to do anywhere near as well as Australia's previous entries. And to say that they've had this is their sixth 6th entry. And they had one kind of wobbly one a couple of years back, but you know, they've apart from that have done really amazingly. Got in the top 10 basically every time. I don't think this is going to resonate with the audience anywhere near as much as Catherine, what's her name? Damien, definitely, who came second. Sound of Silence. Oh my God, that song so good. She is so dull, but that song was amazing. And Catherine, what's her name, that did Gravity a couple of years ago as well. So I just don't think this has got the same punch to it. I don't think Montaigne has the same punch to her. She's interesting looking, but is that enough? Is that enough?
I will say that, again, Eurovision YouTube posted a clip of her pre-recorded performance. And I was interested, of course, to see that because, you know, is it just them in a studio or whatever? But it's a proper performance. And you could almost convince someone that it was on the stage because it's like filmed in a very dark studio. So it's kind of like in a nothing space. So I don't know, for the run of the show, I think it'll... you know, it won't be too noticeable, but I think it will impact the vote on a song that is already, as you say, kind of a little questionable, or more than questionable if you know, according to you. I quite like it. It's this kind of ultra pop genre.
She never looks like she's having fun.
Well, she's been very active on social media, and she has said like the whole song is about anxiety and
great.
Kind of,
Jeez.
you know, and so she said you can't really put a smile on when you're singing about all those things.
It's been a crappy past year. I do begrudge any of the entries this year that have put forward something quite morose, you know, because we had a cancelled Eurovision, the first ever in the history of the contest cancelled Eurovision last year because of a global pandemic, which is still killing hundreds of thousands of people. Let's bring a bit of light to the topic. Come on, guys, like cheer everyone up, please.
It's a song about anxiety. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think it will qualify. I quite like her. I quite like the song, but I don't.
You don't think it will qualify?
No, I don't think it will qualify.
I think she'll get through because they're Australia, but I don't think it. It won't do well. If it does, it will be down with the UK for once. It's a tough ask regardless because it's pre-recorded. But there we go. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, now known as North Macedonia. It's Vasil with the song "Here I Stand." We return to a gospel-y kind of song, inspired by the trials and tribulations of the last year. Vasil was chalked to perform in 2020, and he said that this song came from his feelings when the show got cancelled. It's great that he's back this year. What do we think of the song? Do we want to listen to it?
I would love to listen to it, yes.
Interval.
Okay, I'm obsessed with this song.
Wow.
So Vasil is, you remember last year, Vasil's entry was the amazing video where he was dancing with the woman wearing a scrunchie in her hair. And I said on this show last year, I said it looked like at the beginning of the video when he walks into a bar, he sits down, the barman gives him a drink.
Yeah.
I thought that he was going to start making out with the barman.
Yeah.
And then he starts dancing with a woman with a scrunchie. And it was all very not heterosexual, but it was very heterosexual, right? Mm-hmm. All makes sense because Vasil is a gay man, but he only publicly, he's been out to his friends and family for a very long time, but he only publicly came out this month, from what I can see, like just now ahead of the contest, has publicly come out as being a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And the difference between last year's entry and this year's entry, when you basically allow someone to be the performer and the person that they actually are, rather than trying to make them look straight, and it was so clear that he wasn't, because it was so awkward to watch.
You spotted that the barman.
Oh, from a mile off. I could have been blindfolded and you played the video and I still couldn't have spotted it. I adore this song. I cannot even, maybe I'm going soft in my older years,
maybe.
But this song, when I first heard this, no, this is not a lie. The first time I heard this song, I burst into tears at the end. Like floods of tears, burst into tears. And now, every time I listen to it, that second, the kind of about 2/3 of the way in, I will start welling up, and I have to stop myself from crying. And part of that, I think, is, probably comes from the fact that he is now being able to be his truest self in his performances. But I think the song is just beautiful. I think it's gorgeous, and it is not morose. Like, this is, what I said a few minutes ago about I want things to be cheery and happy. You watch the video, you watch him perform, he is having the time of his life singing this song. He is absolutely loving every second of it, and honestly, it's giving me tingles now. I love it so much.
Yeah, I've got maybe one song that brought me to the edge of a tear. A proper like lump in your throat, well up kind of song. I think that's a good sign for a song. I think maybe his story is playing into it a little bit for you here, but that's just my opinion. I think it sounds a little bit like, I wrote down, it sounds a little bit like a Disney song. But, people like Disney.
I'm not going to disagree. It is a little bit Disney-esque.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to... I think he's like a child prodigy, like a singing prodigy. I think the notes that he sings in this, he's going to be able to hold those notes on stage live.
Yeah.
He's going to belt them out, which is going to score extremely high with the judges, because he's going to be note perfect every single step of this way. And so even if the audience, a lot of the world likes Disney songs anyway, and even if the people that don't necessarily like the Disney songs, you can't fault him. You can't fault his singing quality. I think it's going to be top 5.
Whoa! I have non-qualifier.
Yeah.
This is not...
Shut your mouth!
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
If this does not qualify, I'm kicking off.
I've got the odds in front of me, and it's almost second to last in the odds, mate. I'm sorry.
I don't give a crap. Why? The odds are always wrong. They are always wrong until the very end.
They are
always wrong. Remember when they said that Italy was going to win with that bloody gorilla song?
Yeah. And to be fair, I hadn't thought about him hitting the notes on the stage. I don't think I've actually seen the rehearsal footage of his performance, but that could help a lot if he's, as you say, note perfect. But normally it's me putting things in the top 5 that you're saying non-qualifier, but it's swap. Maybe you are going soft.
I really want his story to be more widely known.
I know. Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea about all of that.
He literally, because I was searching, Googling, because as soon as I started watching the video for this year's entry, I was like, oh, this is much less strange than last year's.
Well, it starts with a whole thing, doesn't it? A whole monologue.
Exactly. His little monologue at the start. And it seems as though he has come out this month.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Well, good for Vasil, and actually, best of luck to him. I'm backing him now.
Oh, if this doesn't qualify, I'll be heartbroken.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we'll all keep.
Although it will save me crying in public when I watch Eurovision next weekend, sat at an outside bar,
after a couple of glasses of rosé.
Will 100% happen. Oh yeah, I will cry if he wins. I don't think I'll ever stop crying.
No, well,
I know obviously the odds are saying you clearly don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's going to win either, but if he did, oh my god, I think my heart would just burst.
Oh bless. Well, before it does burst, let's move on. We are going to the green grass of Ireland. Is that a thing? It is now. With Leslie Roy and the song Maps. So Leslie, she's a proper professional pop singer. She's worked with the likes of Max Martin, Katy Perry, Adam Lambert. She actually lives over here in New York City with her wife, Lauren. She is a returning act from 2020. She loves Eurovision. She's really into it. But Isobel, what do you think about her song Maps?
Lovely Leslie.
Lovely Leslie.
It's one of the better Irish entries in recent years. It's very Eurovision.
Very Eurovision.
It's very Irish and very Eurovision all at the same time. I think it will do well. I think it will get through from the semis. I don't think it's going to get knocked out. I think it will... When I say do well, I don't think it's going to be in the top 10. When I say do well, I mean it's not going to do badly.
Yeah.
It's not going to do badly. You know, and to say Ireland have really fluffed it quite a few times in recent years in terms of not even getting through the semis because they kept putting through these awful, boring, same boys for their entries. I think we said last year in terms of Leslie that it was good to...
Yeah.
They're putting forward someone a bit different for Ireland this year. It's still not that different.
The one thing that Ireland have done, well, I'm going to say have done well, they've done it once before, is they've really come through on the staging with...
when he had the dancing boys.
With the boy. Basically, he had a gay couple dancing on stage and everyone loved it. So, Ireland have upped... upped their game with some of the staging, and actually looking at their rehearsal footage, they're doing something really, really interesting. So they're playing a lot with perspective. So they've got like a camera on stage, and in front of the camera, really close up, they've got like flip books and these little paper cutout sets, and then she's standing off in the distance so that it looks like she's in the set. And it's really effective. I think there's a couple of like bits that they need to clear up in the rehearsals, but actually it's interesting staging that's quite something I've not really seen before. And the song is fine. So I think it will qualify. I think it will qualify, and if it qualifies, it will do okay. Like you, I think it's right on the border of qualifying though. But it's interesting, and I think good for Ireland.
Good for Ireland, good for Leslie.
All right, next up we have an advert for shampoo. No, wait, it's Cyprus with Elena Sagrino's El Diablo. Yes, it's the song that Christians across Europe were up in arms, very seriously claiming that it's a satanic worshipping propaganda song, whilst also featuring some very questionable product placement in the original non-Eurovision hosted music video.
What my friend Matt described as jarring, very jarring product placement.
A shot of Head and Shoulders shampoo halfway through. Very strange. But Greek-born Elena is a singer, a TV presenter, a charity advocate, and the voice of Smurf Lily in Smurfs The Lost Village movie. Isobel, shall we have a listen to her song?
Yes, please.
All this spicy melts my icy edges, baby, for sure. Tonight we're gonna dance in the moonlight, and then we're gonna do it some more. Mama, see, tell me what to do. Lola, I'm breaking the rules. I'm feeling love, I give my heart to El Diablo, El Diablo. I give it up because he tells me I'm his angel.
There we go. That was Elena Sagrinu with the song El Diablo. Isobel, what do you think?
Well, what do you think I think of this song? What do you think I think of this song? It is another Cypriot banger to rival Fuego from a few years ago. I don't think she's quite Eleni.
No.
We've got Elena this time. She is a little bit different.
Budget Eleni, maybe?
Oh, I wouldn't want to go that far. Well, but I mean, they're just the animal magnetism that came off Eleni a few years ago. Jesus, that woman. But it's great. It's an absolute banger. There's no way this cannot be top 5.
Interesting.
In the contest. It is universally, hated by Christians, but loved by everyone else. I don't know anyone that I've played this song to yet that hasn't immediately gone, well, this is the greatest song. This is the best one. No.
Wow.
Not necessarily the best in Eurovision. I don't think it's going to win this year, but I think this will be maybe fifth.
Interesting.
In the contest. Yeah.
It's currently 7th in the odds. I know you don't listen to the odds.
Don't trust him.
I think,
Sorry, Stephen, who's our friend who
Yeah.
is a bookie
odds.
who
Who
does
is the
know
odds?
stuff. I do trust you. But
the collective
no.
odds, it's always
The collective odds, yeah.
I think this might fall slightly lower than 5th, but like not lower than 10th. So between 10th and 5th.
No.
It depends on the staging. I looked at the staging. It looks a little. They've got a big mirror and there's dancers. I think
They've got a big mirror.
they do have a big mirror. I think there's a lot of like 4 dancers in a row and lead singer like 3 steps in front of them. So that's only from what I've seen. They might have something else, but I don't think the staging adds anything. But the song's already like very, very good, so I don't think that's a huge problem. But I like it. I like it a lot. She's great. She seems fun, I guess. But there's not much more to add other than it's a good song.
They found, look, the Cyprus have found a route that works for them.
Yeah.
Get an insanely hot woman
Absolutely.
to sing a highly sexy song that's a banger, and get them to do a lot of dancing.
I'm happy if they just keep doing that every year.
Works.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, well, good for Cyprus there. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you do. Next up, we have Norway with Tix singing "Fallen Angel." Now, the name Tix.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
The name,
keep going.
The name Tix came from when Andreas chose to take ownership of his experience growing up with Tourette syndrome. Tix actually co-wrote Ava Max's Sweet But Psycho, and his favourite type of cheese is the kind you find on a Big Mac. Thanks, Tix. So Tix has actually got a little extra publicity this week because there's been lots of shipping and gossip about a flourishing relationship between him and Azerbaijan's Effendi, with them even actually being placed next to each other in the green room. I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time that 2 talented, good-looking performers hooked up at Eurovision, and I'm sure it wouldn't be the last. But just make sure to keep all COVID precautions in place, at least before the show. So, Isabel, what do you think of Tix's Fallen Angel?
This was the most baffled I've been through this contest's
I would agree.
entries thus far. The song, I think, is rather uninteresting in itself. And the performance, I just don't get it. Like, is it... When it first came on, I was sat going, is it meant to be camp and funny? I don't know if they've changed this now ahead of the live.
No.
No. Okay, good.
No.
Right. Yeah, I thought, what is going to happen here? And then it didn't get camp and funny. It was just very odd. If he wasn't dressed like that, and they still had that performance of all of the demons around with the chains.
Should we describe what it is? Do you want to describe what it is?
Yes, sorry. Okay. So if you haven't seen it already, I would recommend that you have a look at it online. So it is Tix stood in the middle on this podium in a fully white outfit with big angel wings. But he also has on a lot of chains, sunglasses.
Bling.
A lot of bling. So he's like a trashy white gangster angel, right? And then he's connected to chains, which are being held by these black demons, which are on podiums surrounding him.
Yeah.
So you see what I mean? You start watching it and you go, oh, is this going to be camp and weird? No, it's just baffling to watch. It's not camp. It's if he wasn't dressed like that, I think there could be, if it was someone else performing it and not dressed like that, it could have been quite interesting. But he just comes across like a bit of a tit.
He does.
Like,
He doesn't.
He just seems completely unlikable.
Yeah, he doesn't have like he doesn't have pop star quality to him, which would maybe he'd get away with it. But he just seems like a bloke like doing a joke like karaoke thing on a Saturday night.
Exactly. It looks like it looks like this is a joke to him.
Yeah, which I don't think it is, because he is a proper pop writer, and he,
Why is this their final?
And also
product?
the devils or the fallen angels around him. I thought when it started they were like dancers, but it kind of seems like they're his mates as well, because they do not look like dancers. They move around very strangely. Very
whole
weird. The song is
thing
like,
is-
I would say the song is average kind of.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's perfectly uninteresting. It's not. There's nothing. It's not a terrible song.
No.
It's not the worst song in the contest. But the performance for me immediately knocks this out of the semis because it's so awful to watch.
But I also think that's why it's, like you said, I completely agree when you said baffling, because it's not clear that he's taking the piss either. So it doesn't fall into like campy, fun, wink, wink, like rule in on it.
No.
It doesn't fall into he's taking the piss and doesn't actually give a shit. So it's just like very weird choices. I haven't seen him perform anything else. I don't know if like that's his thing and it's kind of weird but okay. But yeah, it's weird. I think it might qualify. I don't want it to, but I think it might. Just.
No.
Okay.
I don't see it happening. If it does, there's something very wrong with everyone. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I think because of all of the reasons you've just described, that it's just none of it quite makes sense.
It doesn't.
I find it very uncomfortable viewing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope that that's how everyone else is going to feel as well and go, oh, I don't want to watch that again, actually. I don't want to see that a second time.
It's weird. Well, let's move on. Let's not think about it any longer. So I've made this mistake many times. It's not Albania next, but it is Albina representing Croatia performing the song TikTok. She's a little bit nothingy, if I'm honest. She performed at the interval act in the Croatian national final last year, which is where she, the co-writer of this song, saw her. Eurovision website doesn't even ask her what her favourite cheese is or anything. So let's just get through this next bit. What do you think of the song TikTok?
I think the chorus is quite fun. The verses let it down, which means that overall the song is fine.
Yes.
Fine. Again, not the worst song in the contest, but by no means a winner. Absolutely not a winning entry. I also found the video to it. So I feel as though Croatia haven't fully got the memo around diversity and inclusion and how we make this more prevalent in what we are doing in our everyday lives. So the majority of the video, she is just surrounded by a bunch of very skinny white women. And the few people of colour that are actually included in it are all stood together, grouped together in a kind of more urban, quote unquote, group of people. Which was it's screamingly obvious now. You can't get away with elements like that now because it's so obvious in comparison to other Eurovision entries and just, media as a whole that we are consuming now. The people that are doing, that are being diverse and inclusive in their content creation, and those that are just chucking a couple of black people in at some point and then it's fine, which I feel as though that is what Croatia have done in this video, which made me enjoy it even less. And I think she's a bit lifeless.
I think that's the whole thing, is she's a bit nothingy. She's a bit
she's not an interesting performer.
No. I think it might qualify.
I don't think she's going to be good live. Have you heard her sing live?
I only heard the 30 seconds of the chorus, which isn't particularly taxing to sing. But I think it was fine. But I think it will qualify just because it's like up-tempo.
I think it will as well, yeah.
I will. We don't need to go on about her much longer. This is one of my 3 themes that I wanted to talk about, though, is exemplified quite well with this staging, with the rehearsal footage of this one. And a lot of people have been talking about how many acts this year have gone with a pink and blue lighting scheme, which is normally lighting schemes are not the most interesting, but just the sheer amount of acts that have this lighting scheme, there are a lot of them, and that lighting scheme is actually famously known as bisexual lighting. Do you know about bisexual lighting? Yes,
I do. Yes, there's
loads of examples in movies, TV, and music where the colours pink, purple, and blue are used when there's something bisexual happening. It's a kind of weird phenomenon, but it's definitely a thing. So for all you bisexuals out there, apparently this year is your year at Eurovision because that colour scheme is used
Hallelujah.
a lot. So, you know, good for pink, blue and purple and bisexual lighting. All right, let's move on. We're going to move on to Belgium with Hooverphonic and the song The Wrong Place. So Hooverphonic are a group that have been around for more than 25 years. And the lead singer for this performance was part of the group from 1997 to 2008 and decided that Eurovision would be the right time for a reunion. Now, this is Belgium, who showed so much promise with one of Euphoria favourites, City Lights, back in 2017, but then failed to qualify twice in a row. Isobel, do you think that this will do any different? Will this qualify?
There's no way. There's no way this is getting through the semis.
Wow.
Absolutely not. No. This was one of my first that I put on my no-go list. It's getting knocked out. The video has the worst acting that I have ever seen. It's so good. And I couldn't even hum you 2 bars of this song. I've completely removed it from my memory already.
It's interesting because we've always said that there's always a country song that comes from that part of Europe, one of those countries, Denmark or wherever. And there isn't really one this year. This is kind of the most countrified, and it's not very countrified, but it's just a band with kind of guitars doing a mid-tempo song. There's always an audience for that, but looking at the staging, they're just standing around. I don't think there's an audience for this. Okay, not for this.
No.
They might be helped because they've been around for a while and people know their name, but I don't think.
Who knows their name? People in Belgium do.
Yeah, that's true. People in Belgium, they can't vote
for yourselves.
No, that's true. Well,
no, this is. I think they've done a wrong on here.
Okay, well, they need to up their act because that's 3 years in a row now they've not qualified. It's not good. Belgium must do better. Okay, next up we have Eden Elaine with the song Set Me Free representing Israel. Now, we know that political situations do tend to worm their way into the contest, and there's not much of a bigger issue right now in terms of European and Middle Eastern politics right now, but to give Eden her due, it's worth reviewing just the song on its own merit. And Eden is returning. Eden is a returning performer from last year. I remember we actually were pretty big fans of her song then. Feke Libir, if I remember rightly. Eden was born in Jerusalem. Her mother immigrated from Ethiopia. She's a trained ballerina and famously started being sent lots of pasta strainers because she mentioned the flying spaghetti monster when she was taking part in X Factor in Israel.
What? Nothing you just said made any sense to me.
Yeah, we don't need to go into it.
No.
This is an empowering breakup bop that could also be seen to be about leaving 2020 behind. Isobel, I think it'd be worth having a listen to this just for one particular moment towards the end.
Definitely.
Feel my beating heart and set me free. 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 Harmony, don't let me down. Just set me free.
Wow. Yes.
Them whistle tones.
Exactly right. Yeah, she really goes for it. I love also that she hits the whistle tone and then goes, oh wait, I'll do one better than that and go even higher. So that's pretty good. And again,
there are very few people in the world who can do that. You know, that is why such a big deal is made out of Mariah Carey, is made out of Ariana Grande, because they can do that and insanely well, and that is a feat to achieve.
Yeah, and I've been watching the rehearsal footage, and she's hit that note every time as well. So she's not messing around. So Isobel, what do you think of the song, and what do you think about Israel's chances this year?
I think the song's amazing. I love this song. I think this is such a strong entry across the board in terms of this year's entries. how do I view Israel's chances in the competition? You know, I think with everything that's been going on because of the recent escalations in the Israeli government's attacks on Palestine and the global backlash now that is happening. So, you know, this is so much more than ever before in terms of the conflict that's been going on between, you know, in Israel and Palestine for you know, so many years now, for decades now. I feel for Eden because I think that is going to have an impact on her success. I don't think it's going to knock her out. I don't think it's going to prevent her from getting through to the finals. This is a fantastic pop song. She deserves to be in the finals. I don't think this is going to... I think it will impact how highly it places her on the board, though. You know, we talk about how when people use politics as a reason for why the UK doesn't do well every year, and it's really frustrating because actually we just put forward really crap songs. And you look at Russia, who the majority of the world hate as a nation, and yet they regularly get into the top 5, top 2. You know, they're battling it for the top spot year in, year out a lot of the time, really putting forward really strong entries. So you could argue that actually the political sway from the audience doesn't really... Well, they don't have much sway. It doesn't impact things too much. But I think with this being so in the zeitgeist as the competition is going on, potentially is going to damage things. You know, a lot of people have been calling for the EBU to remove Israel from the competition this year completely. Yeah. So I do feel for Eden. I don't think this is going to do as well as it should do, because this is a fantastic song and she is an insanely good singer. She
is, yeah, and we really liked her song last year. I think I think there's two different kind of aspects to that political stuff. I completely agree. I don't think there is this kind of ongoing, ever existing, oh, we don't like this country for no reason that really exists against the UK, against Russia, against whatever. But when there are moments of conflict within Europe, you do see an impact of that. Russia's act getting booed when they were on stage a few years back. I mean, the whole Ukraine versus Russia competing towards when Ukraine won, I think had an impact as well. And yeah, I think that I don't think Eden's going to get booed. It doesn't seem like she's kind of as much of a mouthpiece for the Israeli government as perhaps some Russian acts have felt in the past, but
yes, I would agree with that.
I think it will make people less inclined to pick up the phone and vote for Israel.
Yes,
but I think Eden will qualify. I think that she will finish around 15th to 12th.
I would be surprised if she finished as high as 12th, but she deserves to finish a lot higher. She deserves a spot in the top 10, you know, close, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you hope that maybe it's the start of something bigger for her that she can take outside of representing just Israel. Okay, so we're going to move on to the 13th performance of semi-final 1. With Romania and Roxanne performing Amnesia. This is one of 2 Billie Eilish types performing this year. She was set to perform last year with the song Alcohol You, but is back this year. She has 7 cats. Isabel, what do you think about the song?
Oh, instantly changed my mind about her. I'm not. You know me. I'm not fussed about angsty entries. I mean, I've already said I'm not into anything that morose this year. I wouldn't say this is necessarily morose, but it is angsty, and I ain't got the time for it. I don't think it's going to do that well.
It's a little teenagery.
I don't think it's interesting enough. Yeah, I think it is too teenagery for Eurovision in terms of the wider audience that's watching it. I think if you're going to have something that's teenagery, it needs to be more poppy to win the crowd.
Also, it's jammed right between Eden Elaine and Effendi from Azerbaijan Matahari, which is 2 big bops.
It's going to get wiped
just
out.
Loud, dancey songs. You'll forget about it. There's not much more to say about it, really. It's definitely the lesser of the 2 Eilish alikes. But we'll get to that later. So we'll move on. As I just mentioned, next up we have Azerbaijan, Effendi with the song Matahari. She was meant to perform in 2020 with the song Cleopatra. And she even references it in this song where she says, just like Cleopatra. And let's be honest, this one is pretty similar to her last song, which is fine. There's no rule against that. But Azerbaijan have actually had a bit of a middling run of late with some sort of good standout songs. I think this one could be similar, kind of noticeable, but middling. But what do you think, Isabel?
You know, when discount stores make knockoff versions of brand name products, like Poundland. So if you are a non-UK listener, we have a discount store in the UK called Poundland where most things are £1, right? Not everything now, because they do sell some other stuff. But they have fake Toblerones they look like Toblerones. The branding looks like Toblerones almost, but they're called Twin Peaks. And they have to be different enough to not get sued, right? Just different enough to get it across the line and be able to have it in production. But you look at it and you go, that's a Toblerone, except it's not.
Like you get like action figures of adolescent, freaky, ninja tortoises.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly that, right? This song is the Poundland knockoff version of last year's Azerbaijan song.
Yeah.
They couldn't enter last year's song, but they liked it so much that they just made it again, but a little bit different.
Different enough.
A teeny tiny bit different enough so that it got past the EBU's rules. It's like having a fever dream listening to one and to the other. They are basically the same song. So she references last year's song, like you mentioned. She references Cleopatra. They have chanting in this song, as they did in last year's song. It's a mirror. It's a mirror, replica, basically, just a bit different. The same but different.
Well, and to be fair to them, it's not an easy thing to do. I'll talk about it a bit later. Like, the acts that have come back and delivered a good song, that's not the easiest thing to do. But it does feel quite lazy that they've just.
It feels really lazy. You can, like we said, talked about the Roop earlier. The Roop have their vibe. That's their thing. It is quite similar to last year's because that is their bag as a group. That's their sound. This is not Effendi's sound. This is the same song that they've just made a bit different for this year. It's super lazy in comparison to the other entries that have gone away and done something different and put forward, a new sound or a new vibe or from a same artist. Obviously, it's difficult, but work harder. It'll get through the semis,
right? Because a lot of people wouldn't have heard Cleopatra, which is a shame. It was quite a good song.
I think Cleopatra was better than this one.
Yeah, I agree. Cleopatra was great, or at least very good, very fun. But yeah, I think a lot of what we're talking about it ripping off Cleopatra doesn't really impact a lot of people who haven't heard it.
No.
But it's lesser than that.
It is a lesser version.
Yeah. I think it'll qualify.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's go to the winners of the 2016 show, Ukraine, and their post-apocalyptic techno-folk song Shum, performed by Go A. I think it's Go A. Or Go A. Go_A. So Go A have been around since 2012 and they specialise in combining folk sounds with electronic music. And lead singer Katerina sings using the white voice technique, which usually makes an appearance 1 or 2 times a year.
2019, Tulia, that was Poland's entry, used it.
That was good, yeah. Katerina has a cat named Cat, so that's something. So, Isabel, what do you think about this song?
So again, this is very similar to last year's entry by the same act, and as you mentioned, a very specific sound in terms of that singing type. I like that type of singing. I really liked Poland's 2019 entry because of that, but it's real Marmite, in terms of people either really get on board with it and really enjoy it, or it's like nails on a chalkboard to them. And I've got friends who are big Eurovision fans and have very eclectic musical tastes and absolutely cannot bear to hear this type of singing because it just hits them in the wrong way. So I don't think it's going to do well, but that disappoints me because I actually really like it.
I don't think I was a big fan of their song last year, but actually I do really like this song. I think that there are more elements to it than a song like Poland's song, which was very heavy on the white
very
voice
focused
technique.
on that type of vocals.
Whereas actually, like, if you came away from this song and said what's one thing you would talk about it, I think it would be the kind of tempo increasing and the tin whistle and the very heavy drums, which I think is actually like pretty effective. And I think it's also works. It's got similar vibes to kind of Iceland's BDSM theme song from 2 years ago, but it doesn't fall into the novelty act quite as much. So I think it kind of it balances a good line then. So yeah, I like it. I think it'll do all right because it's not so heavy on the white voice, and it kind of that post-apocalyptic kind of vibe works. It's quite cohesive in terms of that sort of theme.
See, I'm not sure it's going to qualify.
Oh,
I want it to. I really enjoy it. I really like it, but I don't think it'll qualify. I think I don't think the audience en masse enjoys that type of vocal.
I think it's going to go top 10.
Oh, I would love to be proven wrong.
I think it's like it wakes you up. It really does when it keeps getting faster and faster and faster. Actually, if you want to see something cool, watch their second rehearsal footage on YouTube. So a bit of drama from this week. Katarina actually fell ill. And because of the protocol, she had to go into quarantine. And she had a stand-in for their second rehearsal, which is like the full rehearsal. So their stand-in was this random student from Belgium, I think. And they had very little notice that she had to go and perform. This is not an easy song to sing. One, the white voice technique. Also, it goes very fast, and it's not in her native language. She hit every note and every word of the song. It was so impressive, and
when
apparently,
you say they had a Belgian, they just pulled someone out the crowd.
Well, no,
to
like
go
people are like on call, like they have.
Right, so she's practiced the song then.
Yeah, sure, she's practiced
right.
it, but it was so
I'm
impressive.
Still impressed. I'll still be impressed.
Apparently the Ukrainian delegation has invited her to join them in their green room for the semi-final.
Oh, fun!
Which is nice. Yeah, so that's good.
Oh, that's nice.
But check it out; it's quite impressive. And also, she, like everyone else, because it's all post-apocalyptic. They're all in costume, and she's just in like a jumper and some trousers. It's quite interesting to see. But that's good. Yeah, I think I'm hoping top 10. All right, so we are going to move on to number 16, the last of the performances from semi-final 1, and it is Malta with Destiny and the song Je me casse. Fan favourite Destiny. She's also a returning artist. She also won Eurovision Junior in 2015. She's been on Britain's Got Talent. She's been on X Factor Malta. But Destiny's dream has always been to represent Malta at the Eurovision Song Contest. This song is a clapback empowerment electro swing jam, which I'm sure does give UK listeners some feverish flashbacks to electro.
Yeah, those two words.
Yeah,
should never be placed together.
Shall we have a listen?
Yes, absolutely.
Ladies, if you feel like flaunting tonight, it's alright. It's alright. French.
All right, that was Destiny with the song Je me casse. Isobel, tell me what you think. Tell me what you feel.
I mean, it's one of the favourites to win.
It is.
they are the PR machine behind Malta this year is really going for it as well. This comes up at least once an hour on Spotify ads.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'm cheap. I don't pay for Spotify. But it means I get to hear the adverts, such as this.
I didn't know
literally
that.
on the hour, every hour. It's, hi, I'm Destiny, and don't forget to vote this month at Eurovision for Je me casse. And then it plays a clip of it. So they are going for it's definitely the most commercial song entered this year in terms of you could hear this on the UK charts and not question, you wouldn't think that it was a quote unquote Eurovision song. It's great fun. Electro swing, as you mentioned, does make me feel a bit sick. Just hearing those words, which the electro swing bit of it, not for me, but it's a great song. I understand why it's one of the favourites to win. It's an absolute bop. My gut says that maybe it's slightly too similar to Netta to win, though. Maybe the Eurovision audience has already had that, amazing, curvy woman singing an empowering song about being a woman. We had that, 3 years ago, as a winning entry. So I don't know if it's going to end up being it's a very different song to Netta's. It's a very different song. They're very different performers.
Similar topic.
But yeah, the similar vibe, I don't know if it's going to be slightly too similar.
You do say that though, but I think we've got a very good chance of the winner being very similar to at least one winner from the last 4 years, because we've got like European classic jazz, which is Salvador and France. We've got empowerment bop, Israel and Malta. Switzerland's one this year is exactly the same as the one of the Netherlands last year. And Iceland is the same as Iceland, which would have won last year as well. So but
that's saying that one of those four will win.
Well, no, they're just like they've been in the top four. They're not necessarily top four in the odds now, but I think that you could say that about lots of the favourites.
I agree.
But I
this is great. If this wins, absolutely deserved.
And good for Malta. That would be fun.
Real fun for Malta. If it didn't win, though, I wouldn't be jaw on the floor. Oh my God, I cannot believe this didn't win Eurovision this year. It's a great bop. But I think it does have competition. There is competition.
And I'll be honest, that clip that we listened to is my favourite bit of the song by a long way. The last minute of the song, I think, is pretty perfect. You couldn't ask for much more. I think the electro swing sounds very dated. I think it sounds very 2008. Like it was dated when we did it. Granted, our song was not the same as this, but it was dated when we did it, and it's dated. It's a little bit questionable. They could have got her to just do that last minute of the song for 2 more minutes before, and it would have been killer. That's the thing that makes me think it's not going to win. It has also slipped a little bit. It was top for a long time. When all of the songs came out before the rehearsals, it was top for about a month. And then the rehearsals came and there were a couple of issues. One around her costume, which I don't know if that makes a big difference. But generally the performance, and it slipped a bit. It kind of went down to 5th and up to 3rd and everything else like that. So yeah, we'll see.
Because her singing isn't so strong.
No, her singing's good. I think her singing's great. I think it's the stuff
wider
other
staging
than the singing.
and
The staging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's what I mean. That fits quite well with my review then.
Yep.
If it wins, fair play. If it doesn't, I'm not going to be gobsmacked.
Yeah, I agree. I could see it going 5th. But yeah, I wouldn't say much lower. Oh, hang on. Oh, this is strange. On my list, I've got one more entry.
Is there?
Oh, yeah. It says it's from the microstate of Clinton Hill. That's strange.
Clinton Hill. Where's that?
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, it's me. I've got one more song as well.
Have you got an entry?
Oh, it's been building inside of me. I've been listening to all these songs over the last month or so, and I've had to let out some creativity and compete with the big boys as well. So So I did actually want to write 2 songs, but I've got one because ironically, this song is all about procrastination. I think coming out of this this kind of slowed down year, people are expecting lots of things to really pick up, but I think we don't want to rip the Band-Aid off too quickly. So I've written a song celebrating procrastination, advocating the benefits of solo procrastination and mutual procrastination. So this is a song called Do It, open bracket, procrastinate, close brackets.
Made a list of all the things I've got to do, then crossed it out 'cause I've been only thinking of you. It's true, got you in my field of view. Will you put me on your list at number 1? Or is there actually a lot that you need to get done? Well, hon, procrastinating can be much more fun. Do it, I wanna do it. Work it, don't wanna put it out. Take it, so shall we do it? Make it, 'cause I don't wanna stop. Cancel all of your plans, clear all your schedules and procrastinate with me. You tell me what's been pretty crazy, days are long. Well, I can work, I'll make you feel good and feel strong. It's on, a little you time is not wrong. So make some time to waste some time, just you and me. I'll show us how procrastination sets you free. You'll see, stop the clock, it's time for fantasy. Do it, I wanna do it. Work it, don't wanna put it out. Take it, so shall we do it? Make it, 'cause I don't wanna stop. Cancel all of your plans, clear all your schedules and procrastinate with me. Time ticks by and the days disappear, but these feelings go all over me whenever you're near. 'Cause I'm obsessing for a session and the setting is here. Procrastinating mutually with your words in my ear. So let's do nothing tonight. Do it, I wanna do it. Work it, don't wanna put it out. Take it, so shall we do it? Make it, 'cause I don't wanna stop. Cancel all of your plans, clear all your schedules and procrastinate with me.
All right, that was Do It, open brackets, procrastinate, close brackets, from the microstate of Clinton Hill. Isabel, what did you think of Do It, procrastinate?
Roland.
Oh, it's been a long time, hasn't it?
That is better than the majority of the entries we've just listened to.
No. Oh,
Yes.
you're too
Yes.
kind. You're too
No,
kind.
it is. You can tell that we have both grown up since we first started doing this podcast. That's a much more grown-up song than you've put forward previously. Still very fun.
Yeah, fun.
Still very silly, but much more grown-up musically.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that's very nice to hear. Thanks very much. You know, I've had a year to do not much else but, play around with music. So, that was, well, also all the other stuff, life and work and that, but,
I love it. I love it. I think
Thanks.
that's one of your best yet.
It's a little rupee listening to it.
It's very George Michael.
Oh, interesting. I actually I listened to a bit of George Michael to kind of come up with some, but it wasn't what I was listening to at the time. That's interesting. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, like the more late 90s, early noughties George Michael. Let's Go Outside-esque.
Will it qualify?
Will it qualify? That's straight through. There's no way that's not getting through the semis. There's no way.
That's all I wanted. We don't even need to know where it'll end up. It qualified.
It's qualified. That's what you wanted.
Microstate of Clinton
song.
Hill represented.
There's 100%. I think that's going to do in this year's contest, which it is definitely entered into. I think that's going to be the highest. I think that's going to be one of the highest placing entries from a microstate we've ever seen.
Wow, that's saying something because San Marino could do quite well this year. Thanks very much. That is lovely to hear, and actually could be relevant because of the news about Americavision, which we're not going to go into, but you know.
But you're definitely going to start working for them and writing songs
could
for
be my
many of the
opportunity.
That's your in, Roland.
All right, so we've still got some more actually to do this episode. Yes, there's more because we are doing 3 of the Big 5 plus 1 because they are voting in semi-final 1. So we have 3. We are going to start with Germany with Jendrik and the song I Don't Feel Hate. I've written nothing about Jendrik. I didn't think we were going to do anything about them, but then Isobel reminded me that we don't just play the good ones on this show. So we're going to listen to this one, right, Isobel?
Yes, we are.
I don't feel hate, I just feel sorry. So you can wiggle at the made a thing that it'll never wiggle back to you. Cause I don't feel sorry. I really don't care that you want to bash me.
I just want to say, right, I feel like it's such a cheap shot making a song that shit be about like, oh, well, you can't talk shit about me. I'll get going. I'll do well anyway. I'll be fine anyway. But it's like, no, we're not criticizing you because we hate you. It's a shit song. So you can't be like, oh, I told you so. Not bad. It's so twee. It's so twee.
So awful.
Oh.
I do feel hate. I feel hate directed, targeted at that song and Jendrik, I'm afraid. Like, he cannot feel hate. Cool. You are that's a hate crime.
It's a hateful
what he has
song.
just done. That is a hateful song. He doesn't feel hate because he's pushing hate onto other people. Onto everyone else by creating music like that. They are so lucky that they have automatically made it through to the final because there is no way that that song would get through the semis. And actually, Germany, again, you know, going back to how much the UK is critiqued for our musical choices at Eurovision, Germany is just as good an example as the UK as to why the Big 5 should have to compete in the semis, or we scrap the Big 5 altogether, kind of thing. Germany put forward terrible options on a yearly basis. I personally really liked 2015 song Big Smoke. It's still on my playlist. It did not do well in the contest at all. They had a top 5 entry recently, a couple of years ago maybe. Not really my bag, but fair dues to Germany.
Last year's as well, Ben Dolic. I know you weren't as much of a fan, but it was
no. This is what I was going to say actually. That this is Ben Dolic last year. I felt was a really clear turning point for Germany after. I mean, none of us will forget Sister by Sisters in 2019. One of the worst songs that year.
That was really bad.
Really awful to sit through. And then they put forward Ben Dolic last year. And actually, to start off with, I wasn't so keen on it. Listened back to it a few more times and we went back to it again recently. Violent Thing was a bop, that was a tune that would have performed really well for Germany last year had it been able to be entered in the competition. I thought that maybe was a turning point for them. Clearly it is not. I don't understand how they can go from last year's entry to this now. This is embarrassing for them.
And I'm at this stage over here. So, I said I wasn't, well, I don't want to, I know everyone's in different places at the moment, but a lot of my friends over here are full vaxxed, and so we're having a gathering. And I'm at the situation where, a lot of my American friends over here maybe have only seen one before because I've shown them it. And it's a bad song when I feel like I would want to distract them so that it doesn't damage the reputation of Eurovision. So they don't
judge Eurovision based on this song.
A lot of the other songs this year are really good, really like kind of contemporary pop songs, and this just really drags down everything and makes it seem like it's a fucking kid song, or I don't even know what. It's not even a kid song. It's lower than that. It's bad. It's bad.
It's painful. The actual music video is painful to watch, and watching that little snippet from the staging, the live performance, was just as painful. I cannot. I mean, I'm speechless. I'm so irate. I'm speechless.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Ben Dolich. I can't remember if he decided to go separate ways. I think he's put something out saying like, "Oh, I'm ready to take on different opportunities" or something. But it sounded a little bit like they'd gone in a different direction. But why would you?
Well, they went in the wrong direction. Didn't they?
This is, I think, the worst entry.
If it doesn't come last, something dodgy's going on. There's some vote rigging happening. If it doesn't come bottom of the board,
I don't know that it'll come last.
So appalling.
There'll be some twee knobhead somewhere who'll like it. I don't know. I don't know who he is. Is he an influencer?
Sometimes the audience comes through, though. I mean, we'll get to this when we actually get through to Spain. But remember with that awful boy, from a few years ago, that "do it for your lover, do it for you," and we hated it with a passion. That came last. I don't think that got any points at all.
Boy.
I don't know. It was so terrible. So sometimes the viewing public really knows their stuff, they can spot a wrong-un.
Just resent that it's in the final.
I resent it, yeah.
Oh man, there should be I tell you what would be good if one of the top 5 were rejected every year. That would at least
being so bad.
That would at least give some impetus to try. One of the top 5, they still have to pay all the money that they pay, but they get rejected if they're really shit. That would be
I like
good.
that.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the host country, the Netherlands. It's Django Mukru with Birth of a New Age. So Django has made use of the backing vocal here again, being pre-recorded. I don't have loads to say about this song. I like Django. He's interesting and nice and makes interesting music.
And gorgeous.
You
missed out the fact that he's gorgeous. I fancy him a lot.
I think I preferred Django's song last year, but I think both
agree.
Gonna make a mark. It's an interesting song. It's a different song. It's not something you hear much of, but
I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like him, and I really like his performance of this song. I think it's beautiful. It makes me feel very warm inside listening to it. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire.
But actually, in the complete opposite to Germany, this is quite a nice example of them putting forward something that probably wouldn't have made it through the semis, but is an interesting and nice song to have in the final. So it's taking advantage of their kind of ticket to the final.
Yes, and also most countries don't want to win 2 years in a row. It's a lot.
Exactly, especially after a pandemic.
Especially after an almost hosting
they
and then having to do it again.
effectively hosted twice already. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very expensive for them. So quite often you can see when the host nation really doesn't want to win again, they will put forward a real bad song the next year because they do not want to be even in the running. They don't want a sniff of it. And I don't think the Netherlands have done that. This is a good song. He's a great performer. It's a really interesting song. Like you said, if they had to compete this year, maybe it wouldn't get through the semis. I think it probably would, but I don't think it's gonna it's not going to win. It's not a winning entry, but it is still a great it's still a good entry. They've still put effort in. They still have a great performer. It's a good song. They've put time and effort and thought and clearly, a lot of love into this song, which is good to see.
Good for them. Thanks, Netherlands. And lastly, for this episode, we are going to Italy. Maybe one of Isobel's favourite places, probably because it's full of androgynous, sweaty, skimpy-clothed rockers like these guys. It's
no!
current number one favourites to win. It's Maneskin.
Shut up. No. I'm sorry. I have to stop you there, Roland. The bookies... Stephen Cass, you are wonderful, and this is not directed at you, and I'm pointing you out because you are a good human. But every year I get so annoyed with the stupid odds that are put against acts that they are not going to win. We can get into this. They're not going to win Eurovision.
Well, so...
They're not. Do not even attempt to argue with me about this. They are not going to win Eurovision.
So, it's Maneskin with Zitti e Buoni. You can probably pronounce that better than I can. They are a band.
Zitti e Buoni.
Zitti e Buoni.
Shut up and be quiet.
Good. Yes. So they're a band. They've been going since 2018. Oh no, since 2015, I think. 2016. They tour and that. We'll have a little listen. It's the favourite. You can't not listen to it.
Oh yeah, we'll have a listen.
Ho scritto pagine e pagine, ho visto sale e poi lacrime, questi uomini in macchine, non scalare le rapide, scritto sopra una lapide, in casa mia non c'è Dio, ma se trovi il senso del tempo risalirai dal tuo oblio, e non c'è vento che fermi la naturale potenza, dal punto giusto di vista del vento senti l'ebbrezza, con la lincera alla schiena ricercherò quell'altezza, se vuoi fermarmi di testa prova a tagliarmi la testa perché sono fuori di testa, ma diverso da loro, e tu sei fuori di testa, ma diversa da loro.
Oh, Isobel was complaining about that clip that I showed her. Isobel, you're so offended by these images, man. You're so caught up in society. Why don't you just loosen up, man?
I'm such a square, aren't I?
So that was Maneskin. So Isobel's made her thoughts quite clear already. What do you think of the song?
No, I haven't. I've made my thoughts quite clear about the bookies' odds,
okay.
about where people are, what's predicted to win. That's what I'm making my voice clear about. I was a little rock chick when I was in my teen years. I've got a lot of love for the rock acts that come through. There was Italy, and there was actually 2 rock entries this year, which is very rare for Eurovision. And they have both been added to my, one of my Spotify playlists, and not my Eurovision one. So this is some insider info. All of my Spotify playlists are one word. They are named after a woman connected to that genre.
Interesting.
Right. So I will give you some examples. I have Donna. What do you think Donna is?
Donna Summer. That's disco.
Loads of disco tunes. Absolutely, yeah.
Good.
And this one has been added to my Courtney playlist.
Courtney Cox Arquette.
That's exactly who it is. Famous rock star Courtney Cox Arquette.
No, Courtney Love.
Courtney Love. So these have been added to my Courtney playlist, right? I think it's a very commercial rock song. This is the best rock song that Eurovision has seen in a long time as well.
Yep.
Normally the rock acts that come in, you kind of go, oh, the Eurovision audience is really going to hate this. Rock does not normally perform very well. We know, obviously, Hard Rock Hallelujah won, but that was a very gimmicky act that came alongside it, which is most likely the reason behind that. If that had just been a bunch of blokes on stage singing, it would not have won that year's contest. As I said, this is the best rock song that Eurovision has seen in a long time, so I see it doing well. it's not going to win. A rock song is not going to win Eurovision. The year after Eurovision was cancelled.
Yeah, that's
it's not
fair. I don't think it will win either. I've put this as I think it will come third.
Why are you winding me up earlier then?
Well, it's the Bookie's favourite. You got to do the Bookie's favourite.
They were on X Factor as well. They are a very commercial rock band.
Were they really on X Factor? Well, it's
Italian X Factor.
Italian X Factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're charismatic. They've got stage presence, but I agree with you. I think it won't connect with enough people, as you say, after a year of not great stuff. I don't think it will connect with enough people to win, and it's not that novelty enough. I mentioned Iceland's bondage song earlier. That was kind of heavy, but it captured some imagination because it was kind of a whole thing. It's a good song. This isn't normally my vibe either, but I've listened to it a couple of times and I like it. I like their vibe. I like their kind of unapologetic, angry, angsty kind of teeny kind of thing. I think it'll come third. And I think it won't be.
Wow.
I don't think it'll be that far, but I don't think it'll win.
I see it just outside the top 5.
Okay. Yeah, that often happens, doesn't it? You get one that's either like first or second that ends up being 7th, and they're a little bit disappointed. You can see it in their face. All right, well, that's it for part 1. So this episode will be going out the day before, so hopefully you've listened to it. If not, we might be completely wrong. Who knows? But we're going to be back on Wednesday with part 2. So tune in then for what we think of the rest of the songs. Do we have anything else to add before we go?
Nice to be back.
Nice to be back. Isn't it good?
All right, then. Eurovision.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you in 2 days. Goodbye.
Bye.